$50,000. For most people, that number feels like a finish line. Cross it and you've made it. But here's what nobody tells you. Crossing this number doesn't automatically make your life easier. It tests you. Let me introduce you to two people, Jake and Sarah. Same age, same job title, same city, same starting point. And this month, they both got the exact same raise, pushing them past $50,000 a year for the first time in their lives. Right now, in this exact moment, their financial pictures look identical. But I want you to remember their names, because by the end of this video, you're going to understand exactly why people who start at the same number so often end up in completely different places 5 or 10 years later. And it's rarely about luck. Here's the first thing almost nobody explains clearly. The number on your offer letter is not the number you actually get to use. Depending on your state, your filing status, and your deductions, a meaningful chunk of that $50,000 disappears before it ever reaches your account. Federal tax, possibly state tax, Social Security, Medicare. Source, IRS, Federal Income Tax Brackets, 2025. The exact percentage varies a lot person to person, but for many people, it's enough that their real, spendable income lands closer to the low 40,000s than the full 50. That gap between the number you're told you make and the number you actually get to work with is the first quiet adjustment almost everyone has to make at this income level. Jake noticed it on his first paycheck and shrugged it off. Sarah noticed it too, and it's the reason she started paying closer attention to where the rest of her money was going. Here's a question for you. If someone handed you $50,000 in cash sitting on your kitchen table, would you feel rich? Probably. But your paycheck never hands it to you like that. It hands it to you in slices 26 times a year after taxes have already taken their share. And that quiet difference between the headline number and the real number is something almost everyone at this income level has to adjust to. Most people just never stop to notice it happening. But that adjustment isn't actually the interesting part of this story. The interesting part is what Jake and Sarah each did next, because this is where their paths quietly started to split. Here's what happened to Jake first, because it's the more familiar story. His income went from $38,000 to $50,000. Real progress, something to be genuinely proud of. But somewhere in his mind, that new number didn't register as more room to build a future. It registered as more room to upgrade my present. So the studio apartment became a 1-bedroom. The used car became a lease. The occasional takeout became a few delivery orders a week. None of these felt reckless in the moment. Each one felt earned. He'd worked for this raise, why not enjoy it? This pattern has a name, lifestyle inflation, and it's common enough that research on household spending has found that as income rises, spending often rises right along with it, which can leave the actual savings rate barely moving even as someone earns more year over year. It doesn't mean this happens to everyone, but it's common enough that it's worth watching for in your own habits. Sarah's raise hit her account the same week, but she did something small and frankly a little boring. Before she let her spending catch up to her new income, she asked herself one question. Where is this extra money actually going to live? That single question is the entire hinge of this video, because here's the second problem waiting at this income level, one that has nothing to do with how much you spend and everything to do with where your money sits while you're not spending it. Jake, like most people, kept almost everything in one place, a regular checking account. It felt safe, simple, and it was quietly working against him, not through fees, but through something far less visible. Inflation. While money sits in a checking account earning close to nothing, the cost of everything around it, rent, groceries, gas, keeps climbing. So even without spending a single extra dollar, money sitting still in the wrong place is still losing real value every year. So what's the actual fix? Not complicated, just rarely explained. Money generally needs to be split across a few different jobs. A checking account for monthly spending, because that money needs to move. A high yield savings account for your emergency fund and near-term goals, because that money needs to stay safe but still earn something. A retirement account for long-term investing, because that money needs decades to compound. And for some people, once those are in place, a taxable brokerage account for additional long-term growth beyond retirement contributions. That's the framework at a glance. I'm not going to walk through the exact setup of each one here. I've broken that down step by step in another video, and I'll point you to it at the end of this one. But even just knowing these 4 jobs exist puts you ahead of where Jake was standing. Sarah didn't get this perfectly right on day one. Nobody does, but she started directing her margin instead of letting it sit still. And that single habit, repeated month after month, is where this story really starts to diverge. So let's talk about that margin, Sionis, because this is the real turning point, and it's less about willpower than most people think. At $50,000, a lot of people find themselves with something they didn't quite have before. A little breathing room between what they earn and what they need to survive. Not a fortune, just real, usable margin. And what happens to that margin over the next year or two tends to matter more than almost any other financial decision made in your 20s. Most people spend it the way Jake did, not recklessly, just gradually, one upgraded convenience at a time. A smaller group saves it, but saves it into the wrong container, letting inflation quietly erode it. And a smaller group still does what Sarah did. They direct it on purpose, using something close to the framework we just walked through. I want to be honest about the fear that comes with this, because pretending it doesn't exist won't help you. The fear sounds like, what if I need that money next month? What if something goes wrong? That fear is legitimate, which is exactly why the answer isn't to lock everything away where you can't touch it. It's to understand that different accounts are built for different jobs, and using the wrong one for the wrong purpose is one of the more common and more costly mistakes people make the moment real money starts coming in. Jake didn't do anything obviously wrong. He didn't gamble his money away or ignore his bills. He just never asked where his margin should live, so it defaulted to sitting still in a checking account, losing ground to inflation 1 year at a time. Sarah asked the question early, adjusted her setup, and let time start working for her instead of against her. That gap between them isn't about who's smarter or who earns more, Remember, they started at the exact same number. It's about information and about how early that information gets applied. And that timing matters more than people expect, because a dollar that starts compounding today is worth meaningfully more than a dollar that starts compounding 5 years from now, purely because of how much longer it has to grow. This is the fork in the road. One version of you treats a raise like short-term permission to upgrade your lifestyle. Another version treats it like the first real opportunity to build something that compounds for decades. Same starting income, very different 10-year outcome. And the difference isn't decided by one dramatic choice. It's decided by something almost embarrassingly simple, knowing which account is supposed to do which job and actually using them that way. So here's what I want you to take from Jake and Sarah's story. Crossing $50,000 doesn't automatically change your life. It isn't some magic threshold. What it does is hand you a bit more margin and a window of time where your habits either start locking in for the better or for the worse. Sarah didn't end up ahead because she was smarter or luckier than Jake. She ended up ahead because she asked one extra question at the exact moment it mattered and then acted on the answer. That same question is available to you right now, whether you crossed $50,000 last month or you're still a little ways from it. The version of you a decade from now is being shaped by what you choose to do with this exact stretch of margin. We touched on the framework today: checking, high yield savings, retirement, and brokerage. But knowing the categories is only half the job. Most people are still using the wrong account for the wrong purpose without even realizing it, which quietly costs them the same way it cost Jake. I've broken down exactly what that setup should actually look like, account by account, in the video right on your screen right now. Most people have the wrong financial account. Here's what you actually need. If today's video was about the moment your margin starts to matter, that one is about making sure it actually goes somewhere that works for you. Watch that one next and you'll have the full picture. This is disclaimer, informational content only, not personalized financial advice. Consult a licensed professional for your specific situation.